friends, and welcome back to my weird little corner of YouTube. My name's Olivia Garcia. If you haven't already met me yet, nice to meet you. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about Lake Lanier because it's really popping up on my For You page a lot on TikTok, and I decided to look into it. And can I tell you how weird and disgusting and terrifying this lake is? Because oh my god, I will never go there and I will never swim in that water, and the dark past behind this lake is even more messed up. So grab a snack, get some water, eat some food please. If you haven't eaten food today, go eat some food, thank you, and sit on down and enjoy this story about Lake Lanier and why you should never go to this lake. Oh my god, just do yourselves a favor, don't go to this lake. Okay, let's get started.
11 people have died in drowning or boating accidents on Lake Lanier this year, including a father and son. Charged with responding to all of those calls are divers with the local fire department.
11 Alive's Caitlin Ross shows you what they deal with under the surface of Lake Lanier. It's dangerous and deadly environment.
Clear and calm on the surface, Lake Lanier is anything but.
So, Lake Lanier is a man-made lake that was created by the Army Corps of Engineers back in like the 1950s, I think 1956 to be exact. And they created this lake to help combat like the flooding of the Chattahoochee River and to help produce hydroelectric power to Atlanta. Now, this lake stretches over 59 miles, which is gigantic, but where it was made is like really controversial. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a timestamp in the description box below. So if you're triggered by sexual assault or racial violence, you might want to skip ahead now to the timestamp that's listed below. Just a trigger warning for anyone who gets upset by things like that, because this story really made me heated and I kind of wish I could have gone without knowing this story. Okay, moving on. Now, keep in mind the northern part of Lake Lanier is encompassed by Forsyth County, which is one of the most racist sundown town type areas you've ever seen in your life. It still has active KKK marches, okay? Like, this place is disgusting. And please keep in mind, we don't tolerate racism at all on this channel, so if you're gonna say anything disgusting in the comments below, you will be deleted and you will be blocked. So don't even try me. Okay, moving on. So back in 1912, there was a town named Oscarville, which was a thriving black community that had over 1,000 residents, and they had individual businesses, black-owned businesses, families, churches, you name it, they had it, okay? And apparently the racist people around the town did not like that. And so there is a white woman by the name of May Crow who was found sexually assaulted and stabbed in the middle of the woods. And the white community obviously found a way to blame someone in the black community for this, even though they had no evidence as to who actually committed the crime. A man by the name of Rob Edwards was forced to plead guilty by a group of white men who took him out to the middle of the forest and lynched him in order to get him to confess, and said that if you don't do this, that we will lynch you in real life. And so obviously he was terrified and he confessed to the murder of this woman. And they also took in his wife, his brother-in-law, and his cousin, and they all blamed them for the murder and rape of this woman. That's not even the worst part of the story. The sheriff on duty only left one officer to keep watch overnight. And what do you think happened? A group of white supremacists came and dragged Rob Edwards out of his prison cell, lynched him on a telephone pole, and shot him hundreds of times while he was hanging on the pole. Disgusting. And the next day, Rob's brother-in-law, Ernest Knox, and his cousin, Oscar Daniel, were found guilty of the murder and rape of this woman and were lynched the next day. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that happened back then. And that happened in that town that is now underwater. Now, after all this happened in Oscarville, a group of white supremacists went through the town calling themselves the Night Riders and started burning down churches, businesses, and people's homes. But they were nice enough to leave a notice saying, hey, get out of your house in 24 hours because it's going to be burned down tonight. So nice, so nice. Which, end result, drove a lot of people to leave the community. Majority of them left, thank God. At least they didn't get burned alive in their houses. It makes me so angry talking. Okay, moving on, okay. Now, fast forward to the 1950s when the Army Corps of Engineers wants to buy the land to make the lake. I promise we're getting to a spooky part because I'm so angry talking about the other stuff that I'm going to explode. So let's move on to the spooky stuff. They made over 700 families move out of their homes and move their businesses across the state because, well, they couldn't afford to live there anymore because they were going to pay them nothing to move out of their family homes and to relocate their businesses. So they had to go far, far away to find something that was even affordable for them to live there. Government, hello. But it wasn't just the families who had to relocate. Over 20 cemeteries had to be moved to make this friggin' death lake, okay? But it said that in the rush to build this lake, they didn't get to all the bodies and left quite a few dead bodies buried in the ground. So when they built the lake, what do you think's gonna pop up? Yeah, people swim in this thing. Now the reason I'm making this video about this lake is to talk about all the spooky stuff that happens at this lake, that you should not be going to this lake because it's disgusting. It's literally swimming in dead body water. Ew. This lake was never supposed to be used for recreational use, but of course, people find water and they want to play in it, and I don't know why. But so much weird stuff happens there, the point where I would think people would start to learn, maybe just don't go to this lake. Over hundreds of boating accidents have happened there. Over 675 people have died on this lake, in this lake that we know of. There could be so many more, but we just don't know because the lake is massive and has numerous amounts of spots where bodies can just like go under, never be seen again. So we don't really know how many people have died on this lake. Reportedly, 675 have. And over 20 of the dead bodies have not been recovered from the lake. So there's just dead bodies floating around this lake while people are playing in it, and it's so gross. People who survived drowning in this lake report that they felt invisible hands pulling them under the surface of the water. Dead bodies are found there quite often. A lot of weird stuff just happens around this lake. There's so many different crimes that happen around this lake that people just like disappear out of nowhere. Like in the late 1950s when Susie Roberts and Dahlia Parker Young were driving over the lake on a bridge and crashed, going off the bridge and into the depths of the lake. And nobody knew they were there until about a year later when a female's body was found by a fisherman floating on the lake. The catch is, they couldn't identify whose body it was because, number one, the body had dentures instead of regular teeth, so there were no dental records to match it. Number two, the body was missing both of its hands and 2 toes from its left foot. Really random. So, since they couldn't identify whose body it was, they buried her in an unmarked grave and called it a day, until about 30 years later when they were doing construction on the bridge and found Susie's car at the bottom of the bridge with Susie still behind the wheel buckled in. So they later confirmed that the body that they found floating in the lake was that of Dahlia Parker Young, and thus brought closure to the family, but also brought us an urban legend. Now, people have sworn that they've seen a woman on the side of the road by the bridge walking around with no hands, saying, "Can you please help me find my hands?" And if you don't stop and help her, she'll do something terrible to you. But if you do stop and help her, she'll be nice and she'll just disappear. I don't know. She gets called the Lady of the Lake and the Lady in Blue because she was wearing a blue dress. But still creepy. Kind of reminds me of like La Llorona vibes, you know what I mean? But like instead of looking for her children, she's looking for her hands. I don't know. Still weird, but people swear they've seen her. There is something that's kind of funny, but it's not really funny, which might also correlate back to the dead bodies not being found. There are apparently giant mutant catfish that live in this lake. Let that soak in for a second because that's just so gross. Giant mutant catfish that are supposed to be the size of a Volkswagen like SUV. They didn't specify the exact diameter or what model of Volkswagen. They just said Volkswagen. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume a Volkswagen van, which is the really big like hippie vans, you know what I'm talking about? That size. So can you imagine a catfish that size swimming around in the lake, which might make sense as to why some of the dead bodies haven't been recovered. I don't know. I will never be going to this lake. I don't want to see a giant catfish. I don't like seeing normal catfish because they are so slimy and disgusting. So I'm never going to this lake. I suggest you never go to this lake. I don't feel like getting a ghost and getting possessed.
I don't want to get a ghost.
Get a ghost.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you enjoy me and my content, please make sure to subscribe down below because that would mean a lot to me. If you have any video recommendations or you just want to say hi in the comments, please leave a comment down below because I try to respond to every single comment that I can. And I love hearing from you guys. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye!